Very good morning to all of you. Shall we start the session now?
Good morning.
Today, good morning. Welcome to all of you, especially our resource person, Professor Jagat Manatunga. Today, the 12th session of scientific writing. Few more sessions to go. And the title of today's presentation is Ethics in Publishing Research in Improving Visibility and Avoiding Plagiarism. And so we all know our resource person, who is Professor Jagat Manatunga, professor in the Department of Civil Engineering and in the University of Moratuwa. And he had conducted several very effective and very fruitful sessions in our course. And today that I selected this title, and he mentioned that he wanted to address to all of you regarding this particular one, because there are ethics we have to maintain in research and also when publishing, and also especially to our security. Avoiding plagiarism is really important. And also that we all like to improve our research visibility. And to do all those things, he's going to talk regarding ethics in publishing research. And also that I'd like to mention that he asked me that not exact 2 hours. This will be a little bit over, like 2.5 hours or sometimes 3 hours. So at the same time, if you have any questions, you can raise those, and also you can disturb him and you can ask him, or otherwise you can post something into the chat box. And with that, today, I think I need not to introduce our resource person, Professor Jagat Manatunga, and because we all know him and you all like his lectures, and many talk to me and will call me and they said that, okay, they want his lectures more and more. And with like that brief introduction, I'd like to hand over the forum to Professor Jagat Manatunga. Sir, the forum is over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Banduni. Am I audible enough? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Yeah, as Professor Banduni mentioned, thank you very much, Professor Banduni, for giving me this opportunity to talk to the audience again. For those who are returning, welcome back. And for those who are new, yeah, you're all welcome. And this is a very informal session that we are conducting. If you need anything to discuss further, please raise your hand, or even you can chat or else you can just speak up. We can have discussions, because this has to be at least interactive to a certain extent, without disturbing all the audience. If we can have some interactions, that would be great. I always encourage you to either raise your hand or type anything on the chat box. If it is pertinent to what we are discussing today, I will take that up. Okay. So today's title is Ethics in Publishing Research, Improving Visibility and Avoiding Plagiarism. So this is something that's very important. There are 2 parts of it. Sorry, 3 parts of the presentation: ethics in publishing, then avoiding plagiarism, and third would be improving visibility. So that is the sequence of my lecture. First, I will talk about ethics in publishing, then I will talk about avoiding plagiarism, then we will move on to a discussion on improving visibility of your publication. Right. This is the very short outline. We will discuss why we need to stick on to publication ethics, then importance of dissemination of findings, and then we will discuss about identifying a suitable platform to publish or present your work. Then we will discuss about genuine journals against predatory or clone journals. Then we will discuss a little bit about journal metrics and what they say. And let us discuss about how we can improve visibility, how we can establish networks, and also platforms that are available, mostly free, widely available, for us to make sure that our publications are more and more visible to our peers, fellow researchers, and the academic communities at large. So this is the brief outline that I will be I have included in the presentation. So this slide was taken from a previous presentation that I made to you. What is research? Research is the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in a way, in a new and a creative way, so as to generate new concepts or methodologies and understanding. Right? So this is very important to understand. It has to be creation of new knowledge, right? Without creation of new knowledge, there cannot be any research. Or use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way, so as to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understandings. Anyway, even if you are using existing knowledge in a new and a creative way as a way of developing further or propagating further or generating new concepts, methodologies, and understandings, that also will add to new knowledge, contribute to new knowledge, and that is why we do research, right? So this creation of new knowledge can also include synthesis and analysis of previous research, right? To that extent, it leads to new and creative outcomes. That's why we always, in a research, the first part would be to find the research need, and then to provide justification to why you are doing the research, developing hypotheses, research questions, and also then developing methodologies based on past research. And also we do a literature review to find out what others have done in the past and what should be done at present and what should be done in the future, right? So all this would create new knowledge, right? So we need to make sure that we follow certain type of unwritten guidelines, unwritten regulations, unwritten rules in research, in conducting research, and also publishing research, so that the effort that we take would add to new knowledge, right? So if what we are doing doesn't add to new knowledge, then either we are repeating or duplicating, or we are falsifying. We are not contributing to new knowledge, right? So we have to avoid that circumstances, that situations altogether, right? And why is it important to disseminate your findings? Publishing, that is dissemination of findings, usually we refer to that as publications, publishing your research. Publishing will help you clarify your goals for the research, and it will help you in reviewing and interpreting your own data and force you to compare your work with others. So there are a couple of things that you need to note here. Publishing will clarify the goals of your research. If you are not publishing, then you are not very serious about what you are doing. When you publish, when you want to open yourself up, when you want to expose what you are doing, then you are very careful in what you are doing, right? So it will clarify your goals of research, and it will also set targets for your research, and also set a certain say stages for your research, and it will define what you need to attain, what you need to achieve, what you need to explore further, right? And the publications or publishing will also help you to review and interpret your data so that others can understand what you do, right? And also publications or publishing will force you to compare your work with others, that of others. If you are not comparing your work with others, you are not clarifying why you are doing the research and what you have found and what significance that it would give to the wide scientific community to engage in any dialogue. Right? So publications will serve all these functions. Then peer review. Now, once you expose yourself to others, either during the conducting research stage or during peer review stage or during even after publication of your research, you allow peer reviewers to give you important feedback on the validity of your research approach. Right? You have to make sure that what you have done is acceptable to the others. And you have to make sure that what you do would contribute positively to the advancement of the field of study, field of sciences, or whatever that you, the area that you are working on, right? And the feedback that you receive from the peer reviewers, or your fellow workers, or the scientific audience at large, will provide you insights into next steps for advancement of your study. There's somebody wants to see me. No, I have shut down. I have switched off the video because I'm not dressed properly, and I might show my face to you later once I dress up properly. Nishant, are you okay? So you need to expose yourself. It's part of your dissemination process, right? Once you receive feedback for your publications, then you can take next steps for advancement of your research, and also interpreting your work in a meaningful way further, right? And also dissemination of research or publications will allow you to communicate the information that you have found with the help of the other researchers, or in isolation. And you can build upon what you have already found, right? So the communicating will also help also to extract important information from your work, and they also can build upon what you have already conducted. So one of the key themes or aims of publications is not to make duplications, not to make repetitions, not to make repeated attempts on the same topic, same title of research. So once you publish the research, then everybody else would know what you have done, what you have found out, and how you interpret your observations and your findings. Then they also can build upon the next steps based on what you have published, right? So writing and publishing, therefore, puts your research into a larger context, and everybody would know what you are doing, and they can contribute to the advancement of science as a collective effort. Knowledge put together would greatly help advance science. Your published paper can also help in the public understanding of the research question. And also a robust of published works will advance your career as well as your academic appointments and promotions. Now you don't have to focus on this very much, because these publications will always help advance your career, but do not publish aiming at advancing your career, right? Always publish to make sure that you contribute to new knowledge and you contribute to the advancement of science. But an additional benefit would be that your publications would help you advance in your career path. And also you can consider new appointments, and you can make use of the published records of publications for your promotions. Consider them as secondary, but not primary objects of conducting research or publications, right? And after all, your publications will help to establish yourself as an expert in your field of study, right? So the act of putting your research to paper will always help you to clarify your goals for your research, and will help you in reviewing and interpreting your own data, and force you to compare your work with that of the others. And also others will find you to be an expert in your field of knowledge, right? It will give you a very intrinsic satisfaction and sense of achievement once you publish your research, right? And your rewards would be advancement of your career as a good researcher, your academic appointments or any appointments within your organizations, and promotions. And also, once you publish and when you have a good publication record, it's easy for you to attract more and more funding because you will be regarded as an expert in the field of study. Without publications, your work will never be noted by others other than your closed circles, right? So it's very important that you publish your research in proper let's say proper channels, and also you expose yourself to the scientific audience at large, right? And the publishing your work is vital for your success and your advancement of your career. But unfortunately, there's an aphorism by the phrase which is very commonly known: it's publish or perish. Either you publish or you perish. This is an aphorism that describes the pressure to publish academic work or even research work in order to succeed in an academic career or a research career, or even in the industry that you work in, if it is a research and development based organization, right? This institutional pressure is generally the strongest at the research institutions, universities, and the researchers who are involved in carrying out research in these institutions will always find it very stressful, right? The publish or perish is a saying describing the pressure to publish academic work in order to succeed in an academic career. But even if when you have pressure to publish, then this pressure to increase the number of publications will lead to unethical practices and sometimes wasteful research practices, because we know that if there's no publication, there's no project. Now you develop a project, research proposal, and if there are no publications, nobody would consider that you are successful in conducting the research, right? So the number of publications will be the yardstick upon which most of the research audiences will measure the success of your research. If you don't have publications, nobody would consider that you have successfully completed the project. And also, if there are no publications, you will get no promotions in your say from your institution, right? Whether you are working for a university, for an R&D establishment, or somewhere else. And also, if you are studying for a degree, if you are pursuing higher studies or even undergraduate studies or postgraduate studies or whatever the studies that you are doing, and if they are research based, no publications would mean that you will not graduate, right? It's simple as that. And if you don't have publications, you will have no future funding secured for your further research, right? So this pressure to publish is increasingly felt by the researchers in universities, in R&D institutions, and so on, right? So you have to make sure that you publish in order to succeed in your research career, right? So as I told you before, now, while writing for scholarly publications, after, say, during conducting the research or after conducting the research, after conclusion of the research, and this publication business is considered as a very, very crucial dimension. Sometimes, if you are doing research for your academic degree, you will find it so frustrating sometimes, because this is the crucial dimension of academic work. Right, your supervisor would not allow you to graduate. Your superiors might not allow you to get promotions if you fail to publish. So this either you publish or you perish. this particular system has increasingly caused anxiety, and this has invariably, definitely, it has induced stress among, I would say, not only among young researchers, but also within more established scholars. Even if I undertake funded research, for example, and even if I supervise postgraduate students, even undergraduate students as a senior academic, sometimes I am also under pressure to publish, because I know that without publications, I can't allow my students to graduate. If I don't have publications, then I can't fulfill the conditions of the funding authorities. And also I can't apply for future funding if I don't have sufficient number of publications during the last maybe recent years, maybe 3 to 5 years. So always this pressure will cause increasing anxiety and induced stress among all the researchers, from very young to very established researchers, right? So this pressure is generally the strongest at research universities and research institutions and universities. Now, some researchers have identified the publish or perish environment as contributing to a factor to the replication crisis. That's why you replicate, you publish the same results in more than one platform. The same conference paper will be developed to a journal paper, or the same journal paper will be changed a little bit and published in another journal sometimes, or else you divide your whole research work into very small say subsections and then try to publish. So you sometimes this pressure to publish will cause poor work being submitted to academic journals, and also this unfortunate scenario of publish or perish will force the researchers to engage in unethical practices. So that is the very sad situation that we face when we are under pressure to publish. Now, this Hannah Arendt, a long time back, she's a very good chemist. If you can look for more information for her, she has identified as far back in 1972. It's about exactly 50 years back. Now, this is what she says: the business of publish or perish has been a catastrophe. People write things which should never have been written and which should never be printed. Nobody's interested. But for them to graduate, keep their jobs and get proper promotion, they have got to do it. It demeans the whole intellectual life. When you are under pressure, if you are not doing research for the sake of promoting the research, contributing to the advancement of science, and if you are doing research to fulfill your individual goals or institutional goals, sometimes your research would not help you overcome this anxiety, this frustration, this stress of the pressure, the stress or the pressure that is developed due to the need to publish, right? So always think about these things and try to avoid these frustrations, and try to engage in good practices to overcome all these, right? Now, scientists sometimes they engage in certain practices which are not acceptable to a certain extent. This is the first observation. Now, I'm reading these 3 bullet points. With pressure to publish, researchers are cranking out more articles than ever. Now, there are more than 30,000 scientific journals and about 2 million articles published annually, right? Some say it's too much because it dilutes research quality. It's not good for science and for a researcher's career. When you say about 2 articles annually. If you then say multiply this by the past 50 years, at least there has to be more than 100 million articles published during the last 50 years, right? So whenever you have 30,000 journal titles, most of the scientists believe that there are too many journals that exist today, and also this 2 million articles published annually would not lead to scientific advancement in most cases. That's what most of the scientists would say. Now, this salami publishing is a dilemma that we always face, frustration. When you are judged by the number of publications that you have done. Now, anyway, I mean, your supervisor would ask you to publish 2 papers. And when you go for a job interview, if you want to apply for a job at a university, they would ask you how many papers have you published. So they go by the number of publications. Now, when people judge your performances by the number of publications that you have done, then naturally you would want to publish more number of journal papers than just one good paper out of your research. This is what is given here on the bottom left-hand side. One study, and you divide that study into subsections or sub-studies, as many as possible, so that you can make sure that you publish more number of papers than one study, right? So there are 2 options. One study, you can publish a very good paper in a very good journal, or else you can publish 4 papers in not so good journals. Right? Don't ever think that 4 not so good journal publications would be equivalent to one very good journal publication. But unfortunately, the circumstances are such that nowadays people judge or you evaluate your research performances by the list of your publications. The longer the list, the better you are. Right? That's very unfortunate. So this will always force a researcher to slice the research findings, like cutting the salami, the picture that you have on the right side, right? Not just one salami that anybody can notice. You cut that into as thin slices as much as possible, and you are happy that you have so many thin slices from just one salami, right? So that is not a very good practice that researchers engage in. Unfortunately, that they do, and they go by the number of publications, right? So you should not be on this category. Avoid this category as much as possible. Right now, there are technical terms that we use. We use the least publishable unit. Right? Don't ever think of publishing a paper if you don't have the least publishable scientific information at hand, or smallest publishable unit, or smallest publishable unit, or sometimes it is referred to as a publon. Right? So don't wait until you have a publon to think of a paper, without which you should not think of publishing a paper, because it will not help you. Or it will not help the scientific community to get any meaningful understanding of what you have done, what you are doing, and what your contribution would be, right? And the next slide here, publish and perish is inevitable if papers are not published with due care. You have to publish. Now this salami principle that I was talking to you about is okay as long as you have this minimum publishable scientific information for a publication. That's not unethical to do, but you have to make sure that you don't devalue your research. You always give prominence to the research as a whole, rather than dividing it into small units, right? So that is not unethical, but don't deliberately dilute your your results, your publications for the sake of increasing the number of publications, right? That is acceptable if you can justify that each paper has the minimum information that is needed for a publication. The smallest publishable unit, or minimum publishable quantity, or least publishable unit, or whatever that we refer to as in the previous slide. Now, if you don't publish with due care, I'm not referring again to salami publications. It's you pay attention to what you are publishing. The only thing is that your papers are not very strong enough to make an impact on the scientific community. But if you go say if you deviate from there, and if you don't publish with due care, then you will not publish to survive, but you will publish even if you don't publish with due care, you will publish at the same time you will perish, right? You have to make sure that there are three bullet points here. All three are very important. I will read that out to you. In recent times, the importance of delivering good quality research output has been the focus of many, right? So good quality research outputs, so publishing is so publishing good quality papers is our prime objective of doing research. And don't ever think that now say publish low quality papers and perish. Don't ever publish low quality papers and perish. Right? Publish low quality papers, definitely you will perish in the long run. You will not be a very established researcher. The other peers and other scientists, other members of the scientific community will find you to be a weak researcher, and say a number of weak research outcomes would never add up to a good research outcome, right? So research weak outcomes will always be neglect or just neglected by the researchers. They will not be noted by any researchers as a whole, right? So don't ever try to publish low quality papers. Definitely you will perish. Always try to publish a good quality research paper, even after extending your research efforts. The second bullet point, we need to pay attention on publishing good quality papers, then as many papers as possible. Many papers as possible would not mean anything. If you publish one good quality paper, it's more valuable, more prominent, more noticeable for others than publishing 10 weak papers, not so good quality papers, right? The third bullet point here, the value of published work is often determined by the prestige of the academic journal. That's very important. You have to make sure that you choose a prestigious academic journal to publish, and the acceptance of a prestige journal of your paper is an indication that you have good information contained in the paper. So even if you cannot judge the level of your research, if you can publish your research in a reputed journal, then the first step of ascertaining, making sure that your research is good, is attained, right? So it's a litmus test that you do. If your research paper is accepted by a reputed peer-reviewed journal, it's an indication that your work is good, your work is acceptable to the general scientific audience, and it will be noted by the others, right? So always try to publish in prestigious academic journals than substandard journals. So there is just an indication that your research work is acceptable to an advanced community of scientific personality, and I think that would give you a very good rubric, indicator, yardstick to measure your research outputs with, right? Now, Now this is a bit weird diagram that I put down here. Now, as we discussed, the increasing number of publications have definitely led to the rise in unethical practices. Now, there is the need, the pressure to publish work will definitely lead to unethical practice, and also dubious research practices, like the salami slicing that I referred to you before. It's not unethical, but it's not a good practice, right? But there are unethical practices, like say large number of researchers have turned to plagiarism, or duplicating publications, or copying from elsewhere, or trying to engage in fraud, and also trying to include authors who have not contributed to the research. All these are unethical practices, fraud, as defined by fabrication, falsification, or performing unethical practices, and so on. So you have to make sure that you do not engage in unethical practices. Now, let us see what I have included in here. Now, you need to have a scientific background to engage in science, right? Proper training, proper experiences. Even if you don't have experiences, you have to, you can work under the supervision of experienced researchers, the supervisors that you have, your seniors in your research lab, in your research group, right? Now, if you now this is the very step here is where you try to develop a research idea, right? If you fail to develop a research idea, if you do not, if you fail to find the need to conduct research, and if you fail to develop a proper hypothesis or research question, you don't have a proper plan to conduct research, then you perish. You have to leave, right? But if you develop a proper idea, you can engage in research, right? Now, if you conduct proper research, then you can still survive. But even if you have a good idea to conduct research, and if you fail to research it well, if you fail to study it properly, then you have to stop and you have to leave. If you do research, you have a good idea, and you conduct the research very well, you come up with all the very good results as expected, and then you have to engage in writing. You have to put that in writing, without which you cannot communicate your results. If you cannot write well, again, even after conducting good research, you have to leave, right? So if you write the paper well, you publish it, and if you fail to publish it, then you have, this is the final stage where you will perish. You write, you fail to publish, and you perish. So you have to write so that your write up based on your research, the research based on your idea, is well taken by the scientific community. First, the editorial board of the research the publishing source that you are targeting at, a conference or a journal or a book chapter or whatever it is. You have to make sure that your write up is clear enough so that the peer reviewers would accept it for publication, right? This is the last step, and if you are successful in publications, then you can repeat and continue research over and over again. But if you fail at any of these stages, then you have to leave the research altogether. Right now, the stress that you have, if you want to conduct a research project for your undergraduate research, for your postgraduate research, or for your career prospects at a university, if you can't fail ideas, you can't steal ideas from others and engage in research. You can't steal research results from others and prosper. You can't ask somebody else to write for you and prosper, unless otherwise you have professional writers for you. You can't copy anything, you can't plagiarize anything and publish, right? You can't do any manipulations here, because if you do, your research publications would never be accepted, right? So you have to make sure that you don't engage in unethical practices at each of these stages. If you engage in unethical practices, you will be caught sooner or later, and you will not be regarded as a genuine researcher, right? You will not be regarded as a good researcher. And we need to correct these. Now, there are misconceptions among researchers. Everybody's writing, nobody's reading, everybody's writing for nobody. No, we don't, you should not ever think of that, right? We write for others to benefit, the scientific community to benefit. The whole idea of publishing is to disseminate findings so that others would know what you have done, right? And you expect the advancement of the field of study to prosper, right? The second, academics are spending hundreds of hours a year getting their work published in peer-reviewed journals, providing free labor to commercial publishing companies. We sometimes tend to criticize the activities of publishing companies, conference organizers, but that should not be the case. We have to make sure that these commercial companies, they provide a service to the academic community. The conference organizers, they provide a service to the community. But I mean, they make some profits that you can't help that, because I mean, people engage in certain commercial-based activities to earn profits, right? These profits have to be reasonable, justifiable, right? In that case, you have to rely on these publication platforms, whether they engaged in commercial practices or not, right? And the pressure to produce, grow and produce, right? This is grow is conduct research and produce is publications. Now the pressure to conduct research and more pressure is on producing results, the research results or publishing, and this is in both academia and the publishing industry. This undermines the quality and the university's ability to serve the public good. No, it's not. The pressure to grow and produce, you have to make advantage on that, right? So if you can continue to grow and continue to produce, you will flourish. Your research groups will flourish, and also your institutions, the universities, R&D institutions, all will flourish, right? So you have to make sure that you need to look at quality, trust, and culture of co-learning, peer-to-peer feedback and dialogue, and to unlock the power of science in creating a more sustained world. Right? This is what you need to aim at, right? So the next broad question is, why do we need to stick onto ethical norms in research? Why do we need to stick on to ethical norms? Right? There are several reasons why it is important to adhere to ethical norms in research. First, ethical norms will promote the aims of research, such as genuine contribution to knowledge, truth, and avoidance of errors. Right? This is very important here. Promote the aims of research. Ethical norms promote the aims of research. You have to make genuine contributions to knowledge. You have to engage in propagating the truth, and you have to take every step to avoid any errors in conducting research and errors in communicating, right? And this is very important. These you should not fabricate, you should not falsify, you should not misinterpret the research data. You have to promote the truth, and you have to take every effort in minimizing the errors, right? So if the research institutions, including universities and research groups, if they prohibit any practices against fabrications, falsifying, and misinterpreting research data, that will definitely promote the truth, and it will contribute to minimizing the error. Therefore, please understand that engage in ethical practices would promote the aims of the research. It will prohibit fabrication, falsifying, misinterpreting data, and it will propagate the truth, and it will minimize the errors. Second, research often involves a great deal of cooperation and coordination among many different people and many different disciplines and institutions. So you need, I mean, you are not doing research in isolation. At least you have your supervisor, co-supervisors, evaluators of your supervisors, your co-workers, your juniors, your superiors, your senior workers, and you collaborate with other institutions, other research groups. These collaborations can be within the institution, within the university. It can be between universities in other countries. So where you have collaborations with the industry, you have collaborations with the government institutions, you have collaborations with NGOs, you have collaborations with the public. I mean, there are so many collaborations that you have to you rely on when you conduct research. So you have to, each of these the stakeholders connected with the research should engage in ethical practices, because it will promote the values that are essential to that would foster collaboration, the values that are essential to collaborative work, right? So the ethical practices will always foster, always promote collaboration, right? Without which you will not have trust, accountability, and mutual respect and fairness, right? When you engage in ethical practices, you can make sure that you promote trust, make sure that you're accountable for what you are doing, and you always honor mutual respect, and you make sure that the practices are fair among all the collaborators, all the stakeholders, right? So you have to engage in ethical practices to the extent possible, and it's make sure that it's a mandatory practice that you engage in all the time. There are no exceptions as such. So many ethical norms in research, such as guidelines for authorship. This is one thing that we are sometimes some research groups have so much of trouble. Guidelines for authorship and guidelines for copyrights, and how to share copyrights, and also how to look for patenting policies, how to share data. Now, for example, if there are several institutions involved in the research, who owns the data? Whether you have equal right to access data, use data further, and you have to have some ethics in determining the sharing policies, and also confidentiality rules, right? Because some of the research that you engage in are confidential until the results are disseminated, right? And also you need to protect intellectual property interests while encouraging collaboration. All these are very important in collaborating research, and you have to abide by, in most cases, unethical set of ethical rules and practices, right? And the final, the last bullet point here, most researchers want to receive credit for their contributions and do not want to have their ideas stolen or disclosed prematurely. This is very important. Almost all the researchers, they need to safeguard their interests. They need to receive credit for what they are doing, what their contributions have been, right? I don't ever expect that people who have contributed significantly to research to withdraw themselves to not having their names in publications. They always naturally would want to include their names to be included in the authorship, not to own the results, but at least for the sake of satisfying their egoistic needs. But that's good enough, because if they have contributed well to the advancement of the study, they should their contribution should be recognized. Their contributions should be given proper recognition, credit, right? So they do not want the idea stolen and disclosed prematurely or inappropriately, right? So that say engaging in these good practices is very important. Now, I have given hyperlinks to guidelines for authorships. Just some examples from the internet. Guidelines for authorships. I have there's a hyperlink here. and hyperlink to these patenting policies as well. Please have a look at them later on. And the third, the need for the third need to stick on to ethical norms in research would be that many of the ethical norms help to ensure that researchers can be held accountable to the public. We are mostly using public money. If you are using public money, even in the form of research funding receiving from government institutions, we have to engage in ethical practices so that the public, we held accountable to the public. For instance, policies on research misconduct, conflict of research, or if there are any human subjects in the research design, or if we use animal species in the research, we have to obtain ethical clearances from appropriate authorities, right? And also whatever that we do, we have to make sure that as researchers, we have the money that we make use of, which we obtain from the public sources, we have to provide them with proper outcomes, outputs, by engaging in ethical practices. If we ever engage in unethical practices, then the public will never see the research community as somebody who can be trusted further. And why do we need to engage in ethical practices? The fourth, ethical norms in research also help to build public institutional support for research, right? If we conduct in ethical practices, then everybody will note that our research efforts are genuine, right? And they will establish a mechanism by which the research programs are well supported by, say, private-public partnerships or funding, or public funding, or even funding from third sources as appropriate, right? The public sources are more likely to fund research projects if they can trust the quality and integrity of the researcher. You have to be very, very careful. You have to maintain quality, and you have to perform, and you have to show integrity in conducting research, without which there will be no public trust built on the research. Finally, why do we need to engage in ethical practices? Many of the norms of research that promote a variety of other important moral and social values, such as social responsibility, human rights, welfare, compliance with the law, and public health and safety. We have to safeguard all these if we want to engage in ethical practices. Right, so ethical practices will all make sure that what we engaged in are acceptable to the society. And different countries and different academic organizations have different approaches in making sure that the researchers connected with those academic communities are well, say, abide by ethical practices. These are some of the ethical code of conducts. Of conduct for research ethics. I have given you a list. This is not an exhaustive list, but this at least gives you a very broad understanding of what ethics that you need to follow in conducting research. All these entries here are hyperlinked. You can always go and have a look at the ethical practices that they suggest to follow in any of these. Right. So just click on these links. You have these codes of conduct. I'm going into these codes of conduct, but you can do leisurely. All these lists, all these entries are hyperlinked. So we go to the second part of the presentation. Why is ethics in publishing? What is ethics in publishing, and why is it important? Why is it important? We have already done. Let us look at more on ethical practices. what are we referring to when we talk of ethics in publishing? First, we have to be honest in our publications. We have to strive for honesty in all scientific communications. Honestly report data, honestly report results, and methods and procedures and publication status, right? And you should not fabricate, falsify, or misinterpret data. Do not deceive colleagues, research sponsors, or the public. This is very, very important. You have to be honest in publication, in conducting research and then publications. Second, objectivity. You have to strive to avoid bias in experimental designs. You have to conduct proper data analysis, data interpretations, peer reviews. You have to conduct proper peer reviews. You have to make personal decisions. Now there's a spelling mistake here. This has to be personal, NAL. Proper writing and other aspects of research where objectivity is expected to be required. You have the second bullet point, avoid or minimize bias or self-deception. And third, disclose personal and financial interests that may affect research. So you have to disclose the funding sources, because sometimes this industry-funded research might lead to biases in interpretation. You have to expose them. I mean, you don't have to hide them, but if you disclose the financial interests, then the reader would naturally know what restrictions that you have in doing interpretations. But if you do not disclose such financial interests, sometimes you keep this information away from the reader, which leads to unethical practices. The third, you have to make sure that integrity is always safeguarded. Keep your promises and agreements. If you have promises with the research circles among the research communities, and if you have an obligation to provide the research results to the collaborators or even the funding agencies, then you have to make your promises, right? So you have to act with sincerity. Don't ever keep some of the data with you and just pass on just partial information to the others. Don't ever do that, right? You have to make sure that you act with sincerity, and also strive for consistency of thought and action, right? So this is very important. You have to strive for consistency. Don't ever mislead, misguide your fellow workers, your peers, your supervisors, your collaborators, your funding agencies, and also the public as a whole. And then you have to be very careful. You have to be you have to exercise extra carefulness. You have to avoid careless errors and negligence, right? Because this carelessness and negligence of researchers are never tolerated by the scientific community. Your peer workers, your superiors, your institution, your collaborators, and the research community as a whole, they do not tolerate carelessness and negligence. You have to be very careful and critically examine your work and work of your peers. You have to keep good records and research activities, because if you ever need to repeat, and if you ever need to disclose further details of your research, your methodologies, and the basis for your conclusions, then you have to disclose them appropriately. For that, you need to have proper records, data collection methods, research design, and correspondence with any other third-party collaborators. Then you have to be very open. You have to share your data. You have to share your results, ideas, tools, and resources, unless otherwise they do not infringe on copyrights or intellectual property rights. If you reserve the right to retain certain data information for your future work, you can do so. You don't have to expose everything at once. But if you have reasons not to disclose them, yes, that's good enough, right? You have to be open. Then you have to disclose why you are reluctant to share the information, share the data, right? If you have a good reason not to be open, then yeah, your openness would be limited to expressing your ideas why you are not open. That's good enough. If say that's being very open of why you have any reservations. And you have to be open to criticisms and new ideas, because this publication, one of the aims of publications, as we discussed in the previous slide, is to make sure that you expose your work to the others so that you can invite constructive criticism, suggestions for improvements and further work. The dialogue between you and your research peers and the scientific community at large would contribute to the advancement of these ideas, scientific ideas, and the scientific findings to a large extent, very significantly. So, and also that's why these conferences and symposiums are organized after all, right? Whenever you submit papers to a symposium or a conference, you make sure that you engage in dialogue with fellow researchers, so that you can invite criticisms, constructive criticisms from others, invite new ideas from others, and you can conduct discussions with others, and so that both you and the parties that you engage in these discussions with will also prosper, and they will also learn from your experiences, and you can learn from their experiences. For that, you need to be open. And then number 6, transparency. Disclose methods, materials, assumptions, analysis, and other information needed to evaluate your research. You have to be transparent. That is being frank enough to expose yourself so that others would know what you have done, what you are doing, what you are planning to do, etc., etc. And you have to be your work has to be to be accountable. Right? Take responsibility for your part in research. If you are working as a group, as a team, as a part of a collaborative work. And you have to be prepared to give an account, explanation, or justification of what you did, why you did, and how you did the work, and what implications that there are in the research outcomes. So you have to always be in a position. You should always be ready to answer what you did on a research project and why you did, and to give any explanations to any say any of your peers or any of your collaborators or any third parties, right? Then you have to honor patents, copyrights, and other forms of intellectual property. You should not use unpublished data, methods, or results without permission from others. And you need to give proper acknowledgement or credit for all the contributors. You should never plagiarize, right? Because plagiarism is theft, stealing from others, right? You should never do that, right? And then confidentiality. You have to protect confidential communications, papers, grants submitted for publications, personal records, trade or military secrets, and patient records if you are engaging in medical research. You have to protect the confidentiality, and also you have to protect the rights of any third parties, individuals, establishments, or any legal entities to the maximum extent. Otherwise, you will be liable to any misdeeds that arising from breaching confidentiality. You have to be very careful on that. Then you have to publish responsibly. Your publication, you should publish in order to advance research and scholarship, not to advance just your own career. Never do that, right? The contribution, the benefits that you get out of publications for advancement of your own career is secondary. It's a bonus that you get. Always avoid wasteful and duplicative research, right? So these are the things that you need to look into. There are 10 things that I have discussed. You have to try to stick onto all these ethical practices if you want to become a researcher who promotes ethical practices, who respects ethical practices, and as a researcher who has ethics in conducting research. Always try to be a good researcher who honor these ethical practices. Right now, I want to pay your attention to this Committee on Publication Ethics of COPE. This is a very prominent organization that would that looks after publication ethics worldwide. This Committee on Publication Ethics, like the COPE committee that we have in our parliament, they look, this scope is very different, and they practice what they do, at least. And the committee has their own ethics to comply with. Now, this Committee on Publication Committee on Publication Ethics of COPE, they have published guidelines on good publication practice, right? So you can click on this, and I will provide you with a folder, not only the presentation file, but with all the hyperlinked documents. And this document is also included in the folder. And if you click on this, you will get I have to stop share and then to look at this. Yes. This is the document that has been hyperlinked. This Committee on Publication Ethics, they have developed this in 1997. This gives you a long list of things that you need to abide by. You have to observe if you strive to stick on to ethical practices. How you should make your study designs and ethical approvals, right? The actions that you have to stick onto, right? And then there are so many things that are included here. I will not go into details of this. Just you can have a look at it. And data analysis. If you are doing data analysis, data collection, then you should never fabricate or falsify data to constitute misconduct. And what you should do are listed here. And then the authorship, how should you decide on the authorship? Who should be the first author? Who should be the corresponding author? And does your supervisor always want his or her name as the first author and you as the second author, which is not very which is not a very good practice, but some senior author researchers do. If he or she is the supervisor, they think that they should be the first author. Just have a look at this. You will understand the ethics behind determination of the authorship, and then conflict of interest, peer review process, redundant publication, and also this has a very prominent section here on plagiarism. You should avoid plagiarism at any cost, right? No, plagiarism is never allowed because it's stealing of intellectual property, stealing knowledge from others, right? Duties of editors, media relations, and so this is a long document that you can have a look at it. Look at. Please have a look at this particular document so that you will have an idea of what these ethical practices that the COPE committee is suggesting, right? So the next, now this is just examples. You should you should avoid cherry picking. Yes,
Professor Mantunga, would you please post that particular URL to chat box, then we can download it. Otherwise, we have to
what I will do is I will make a folder and I will share that folder with you. You can share that folder with all the participants later on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, because I have these all these documents downloaded for easy reference.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for
Yeah.
this study.
Yeah, and we have to avoid this cherry picking altogether. Cherry picking is now when you have a set of data, you should not choose the data points that you need to highlight, right? You should give a proper interpretation to the entire data set, unless otherwise you have separate sets of data, right? Now here you have these two pictures here. Now this one is just picking a certain white, say now he has a basket full of cherries here. He has picked all the cherries and put in one basket, and he's going to analyze everything. This is what you need to do. Not like you take only the cherries that you need and you take them out, and other cherries are still on the tree. And you should not look at just the cherries that you want to pick from the whole tree here, right? So you have to avoid only focusing on data that supports your hypothesis while ignoring the data that contradicts it. You should never do that, right? Now here also my argument is, now if you have different sets of data here, I mean, he's saying my argument is O, right? So he's saying, no, mine is X and I can prove it with X data. Now you have to take O and X, and then you need to have a proper data analysis tools to interpret this data. You should never choose whatever you want to highlight and then interpret it. There's an example here. Just a moment, I don't know how to take it. Now you have, now wait. Now, whenever you have this, now start from the beginning. Now, whenever you have this type of data, you can't just take this part out and then interpret, right? Now, this is what that is all. Now, now this is part of the data, and this is the trend line, right? But if you take the whole set of data, it's something like this, right? Now, this is the trend line, right? And this is the whole set of data that you have. You can't just take this part of the data and interpret. Right? This is that part of the data, and the trend line is something like that. Global warming is now had reached a plateau and decreasing, but the whole the set predicts that the global warming is rising. Right? If you just take this part of the information and if you highlight it, you have a decreasing trend, which is not true. Right? So whenever you take the whole set of data, the trend is different. So you should not do the cherry picking like this, because it is totally unacceptable, because you are hiding the most important parts of the research. Right? So you should never engage in cherry picking. That is choosing only the data that you want to highlight. And also now what you can do is you can remove outliers. Removing outliers, you have statistical procedures to do that. You can't just handpick and then remove data so that you have a good fit. You have a good trend line that you can fit. You should never do that. Now, for example, here you can just remove this outlier and then fit a different line there. But you should not pick an outlier just because that you want to have a different line fitted to this data. Right? You have to engage in acceptable practices so that this removing outliers is properly done. Right? Now, just you can't just remove whatever the data that you don't like to have in the data set and then interpret data. That should never be done, because it's falsifying the data. Right? Now, in general, there are three things, three categories that we want to avoid. One is fabricating. Fabricating is making up data. You conduct a partially complete study, maybe certain experiments, for example, and then you create your own data, right? So you have, if you are measuring water quality, and without measuring water quality, you come up with certain numbers for each parameter. Right? If you are conducting some say compressive strength testing in samples of concrete, you don't do the study, but you generate some numbers, right? Because nobody would come after you and ask you for for any evidence how you did the experiment. And otherwise, you are doing supervised research. At least your supervisor would know what you have done and what you have not done. But if you are not doing, if you are not engaging in supervised research, sometimes some scientists, some people, they fabricate data, they make up data without doing experiments, not doing studies. They come up with information, data, and numbers. That should never be done. That's falsification, fabrication. Falsification is once you have data, you falsify, then you distort the data, right? And that's what this sushi principle is. Now, always the scientific community would like to look at the raw data than the cooked data, right? When you falsify, when you say, analyze the data, when you change the data, that is data cooking. You should never do that without a proper analysis. Analysis is not data cooking, but if you try to change the data, distort the data, delete a set of data without proper justification, then that is cooking, data cooking. You should never engage in data cooking other than engage in standard practices of data analysis, right? So the sushi principle always say that raw data is better than cooked data. That's why most of the reputed journals nowadays need the authors to submit or upload their raw data to a data repository, right? Because the scientific community would like to access your raw data rather than your cooked data or your analyzed data, because data analysis also will lead to cooking, but cooked data is always distorted data, distortion of data, or say falsification of data, changing data without any justifiable reason, right? So you should never do that. And then questionable research practices, even with say, including cooking data, mining data from other sources, concealing conflicts of interest. These are all questionable research practices, unethical practices. You should also not do that. Sometimes you steal a little bit from one source, another source from some other source, because if you are time, if you are resource constrained, sometimes some researchers are forced to do that, but you should never do that unless otherwise you have the ethical clearances and also proper approvals, proper consents are obtained to share data, to extract data from other sources. You should never do that, right? So these are the things that you need to avoid, right? So that is now we have come to the end of the first part. Then let us see. This is that's all for ethical practices that you need to engage in. And this is the second part, publishing your research. So shall we take just 5 minutes, and if you have any questions on ethics in practice, ethics in publications, if you have anything, I'm ready to discuss your concerns. So if you're okay, we can go ahead with the second part, publishing your research. So why do you need to publish your research? Now, these are two different studies conducted. I took this from different other sources. I have given the references. Now, there was a survey conducted based on 485 research-based, UK-based principal investigators, and they asked why you need to disseminate findings, right? At least 93% out of now this is they were allowed to respond using a questionnaire, and they were free to choose more than one response, right? So at least 93% of the respondents said that they want to raise awareness of findings. They want to tell others what they have found. And then at least 85% said the influence of policy, influence of practice, stimulate discussions or debate, transfer research to practice, raise the organizational profile, blah, 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 blah. So there are different reasons for different people why they need to disseminate, right? Now, these are principal investigators. If you ask a student why you need to publish, then their reason might be come at the top as part of their research say performance requirements they need to publish. Now it has not been included in here, right? So I'm not asking the students why do we need to publish. That's a silly question to ask. And also another study also found that the at least 90% of the respondents said that they wanted to communicate results to the peers, and a lesser percentage, about 80% of the people said advancement of the career. Right now, the same person might have also ticked on this, right? And also they wanted the personal prestige, recognition within the scientific communities. And to gain more funding, and very few number of respondents said they wanted to gain financial rewards after publications. So this is a very encouraging outcome here when they want to communicate results to peers. That is the prime concern. So the majority of the researchers wanted their contributions to be part of the scientific the publication databases, so that others can have access to what they have been doing, and with the hope that it will support, it will contribute to the advancement of the field or the science. And where to publish? Yes, majority of the researchers said that they want to publish in academic journals. Naturally, that is the most respected platform in which you can publish. Then the conference presentations. So these are the single most preferred platforms for the publications. And the next question is where to publish your research. Right now, yes, obviously academic conferences and journals, but which journal do you need to publish? Which conference that you can select from? Because there are, as I said, there are more than 30,000 journal titles available worldwide, right? And there are, I think, thousands of conferences that comes up regularly from time to time, and you need to decide to which forum that you need to submit your paper. You have to answer this: are you submitting a research to a trusted publisher? You have to submit your paper to a trusted publisher. How can you be sure the publisher you are considering is the right one for your research? Many research is being published worldwide. New publishers are launched every week. Many researchers have concerns about predatory publishing. You should avoid predatory publishers at any cost. It can be challenging to find up-to-date guidance when choosing where to publish. You need to avoid predatory publishers and journals. What are these predatory publishers and journals? There's a definition here. Predatory publishers or journals are those which charge authors a fee for publication with no intention of providing any expected services. What do we expect from a publisher? We expect them to provide us with an editorial service. We expect them to provide us with a proper review process where we can improve our research outputs, right? So, but charging a fee is okay because it's legitimate, because they also have to cover their costs, and they want to make reasonable profits, and there's no question on that. But if you don't get anything in return other than just the publication, then you have to think why you should select such a journal, right? It's not just for the sake of publications. You need a feedback for your publication, whereby you can improve your experience in conducting that research. If not, you would not want to publish it there. And also, if the publication, if the source of publication is not directly accessible to the scientific community as a whole, and if it is not a reputed publication, then you don't feel like publishing, because say you want your paper to be read by the scientific community. Right? Now, these predatory journals are sometimes referred to as fake journals, questionable journals, illegitimate journals, deceptive journals, dark journals, journals operating in bad faith. I mean, there are so many names in that. There are many journals. Now, how to find whether they are predatory or not? There are many journals which do not have the best editorial or technical standards, but which are applying reasonable basis. Now, this is now there are now. Don't ever think that if a journal has no best editorial or technical standards, that they are predatory. Whenever they don't have proper resources to operate, then sometimes they look like ill-managed, mismanaged journals, but it's not, right? But because there are so many academic the journals published by academic societies worldwide, including in Sri Lanka, they don't have proper resources to engage in, right? So you should not regard them as predatory journals, but predatory journals are easy to recognize, because now these are the things that you have to watch for. Predatory journals, the journal title itself is confusing with another journal. Then these journal titles are selected by predatory journals to mislead potential authors and also to the readers. And they would formulate a title which would synonymous, or which would be a close replication of a reputed journal, right? And these predatory journals have a very wide scope. Journal of Civil Engineering, Journal of Engineering and Technology, things like that. And you'll be wondering when a journal is called Journal of Engineering and Technology, what sort of publications that they accept. Then the third, they display unofficial impact factors, not the standard impact factors, but they have created their own impact factors, and they display those impact factors prominently. And reputed journals, they don't display these very prominent. They display the journal matrix, but not very prominently. They claim false claims of being indexed in major services, but whenever you go to these major databases, these journals are missing. And usually these predatory journals, they don't have a proper publisher address or contact information, and there's no clear ownership. And there's one very prominent feature. They send spam emails inviting submissions, often unrelated. They just send they bombard with you with email communications. These reputed journals will never invite you to submit papers, or they will never advertise, or they will never come after researchers asking to submit papers. And they always promise very fast times for submissions and publications, and they publish out of scope articles. If you take an issue, you see so many kinds of articles not related to the title at all. Sometimes they publish nonsense articles sometimes, and there's no non-existent editing of articles, and they won't send you any editorial reviews. They publish as the way that you submit it, with all the spelling mistakes or poor grammar. And even their email communications are also erroneous, spelling mistakes, grammar, everything, right? And there's no editorial boards listed. And also there are no policies for the journal, such as a peer, and there are no licensing or copyright information given. So these are things that you need to look for if you want to watch out for predatory journals. And other than predatory journals, nowadays these predatory conferences are also very, very common, right? They are in the form of virtual conferences. They invite academics openly for presentations and conferences, and they have a registration fee, right? So whenever they organize these virtual conferences, they don't have any organizing costs involved in organizing. They just operate, just one or two people operate as conference organizers, and you are supposed to pay them a participation fee or registration fee, maybe $40, $50, even sometimes $100. And they are the conference themes are very, very attractive. They have the word international everywhere, right? These are international conferences, and they say they published peer review papers, but these papers are never peer reviewed. But the conference call says that they are peer reviewed, and you might also receive a letter saying that you have participated in such a conference, international conference, held on so many days in Dubai or in Singapore, in somewhere else. And your paper has been reviewed, blah, blah, blah. And they provide page numbers and all these things. And also they might also upload the conference proceedings somewhere. I mean, just uploading it to a website is no big deal. And so these are all bogus conferences, right? You have to always target at conferences organized by reputed universities. Reputed universities within brackets. Always you have to interpret what these reputed universities are, and reputed academic societies. And also there are annual conferences organized by conference organizers for the last maybe 20, 30 years. So they are reputed because they have established their conferences as regular events, right? Don't ever be trapped into these international conferences, say virtual conferences, because nowadays even the universities, they don't look at what these conferences are. And if a student submits a paper to these conferences, they are misguided, misled by the submissions, and they consider this as sufficient evidence for research outputs of a student. And these fake conferences are mostly they target unsuspecting early research careers. As I told you before, when they are so pressurized in publications, then they look for these alternative routes for publications, predatory journals or these predatory conferences. But you have to make sure that these predatory journals and predatory conferences are not the proper platforms for your publications. Sooner or later, these are recognized as bogus publications, and your publications are never accepted, right? And what are the negative impacts of submission of predatory journals? Your financial losses. I mean, these submissions never come for free. You need to pay a publication fee for predatory journals, for these predatory conferences, and you pay maybe say $40, $50, $100, sometimes more than that, and you lose that money because your publication will never be recognized at any forum. Nobody will recognize these as authentic publications. So you spend money and you lose that money. That is the financial loss. And also, whenever you have these publications in predatory journals and predatory conferences, and I mean, sometimes you don't suspect them to be predatory journals or predatory conferences, but if you are trapped into that, and if you happen to list them as your publications in your publication list, these publication lists are referred to as contaminated lists, right? Polluted list of publication, right? So don't ever fall that, don't try to contaminate, pollute your list of publications by publishing articles in these predatory conferences or journals, right? So, so you will have harmful repercussions whenever you publish in such conferences and publications, right? And you will have tarnished reputation, right? So if you have 10 very good publications in journals, and if you have a single publication in a predatory journal, the 10 very good publications are also ignored by this contamination of your list, of the polluted list, right? Don't ever try to deliberately or knowingly or unknowingly polluting your list of publications. Please don't fall to that trap, right? So where to find the list of predatory publications? I have given you so many, a couple of lists. Either you can look at the BEALS list. The BEALS list is the foremost, the prominent list that we have for publication, for to recognize predatory publishers and publications. Then you have they have mostly printed publications here. And also you have this openaccessjournal.com, which has two lists, open, say, predatory journals and predatory publishers, right? So I will give you just a glimpse of what these websites look like. So this is the BIAS list, right? So I have given the hyperlink in the presentation. So this is the list of predatory or bogus publishers here, right? Starting with, so I mean, there are long list of publishers here, right? Just see Bell Press, just one random pick here. Sorry, so mostly these are hyperlinked. I lost it. So this is a BIAS list. Just you can click on any of these, and these are hyperlinked to these publishers' home pages, right? This list contains a long list of bogus publishers, right? And you can click on the second list there. It gives you the list of standalone journals which are recognized as predatory journals, right? So you have American Journals of Advanced Scientific Research, American Journal of Advanced Medical Sciences. You can see that the types of these journals are very broad, very broad, right? So you have very long list of this mostly the International Journal of Advanced Engineering Science and Technological Research, International Journal of Advanced Engineering and Research and Science, International Journal of Advanced Engineering Research and Applications. I mean, whenever you read the title, you can get. I mean, you are lost in what they are trying to publish, right? So you have so more than 1,000 titles included in here, right? So please don't fall into the trap of submission of any of your articles to these predatory journals. These are all in print. The publishers, list of publishers are given here. The title of journals are given here, and also the Vanity Press. Vanity Press is the publishers who publish book chapters. You might be getting a very frequent emails from these Lambert academic publishers, Nova Science, even this World like Dr. Mueller. I mean, these are all Vanity Press. Vanity Press, they publish book chapters, and these are all bogus publishers. They don't have any peer review process, no editorial assistance given, no editorial services. Just publish as whatever that you publish to them, right? Don't ever fall onto this trap. And then the predatory journals, sorry, online predatory journals. So this is this open accessjournal.com. This also gives you a long list of open access journals to which you should not even think of submissions, right? Again, you have a long list of open publications from A, B, C, D, E, or say that also listed in alphabetical order, right? Just to have a look at these lists when you have time. This BIAS list and the list, this openaccessjournal.com list are the most very comprehensive lists, and you should not even think of submitting journals to these so-called predator journals. And I have included this particular publication also, which has been published by this interacademic this organization is called Inter-Academic Publishing Partnerships. This IAP, Combating Predatory Academic Journals and Conferences. This also has this is a very comprehensive publication which has been published in 2020. I have given the hyperlink here, and also I have a PDF copy included in the folder. Just go through this journal. It's very interesting to read. to get more information on how to identify predatory academic journals and conferences, and why and how you should avoid such journals and conferences. And then again, there's another very good website that you can access. This is the thinkchecksubmit.com. The link is given here. Thinkchecksubmit.org, right? So this is again collaborated. They collaborate with COPE, and this organization gives guidance for authors how to select a journal or a book chapter from reputed journals, so that you don't fall into the trap of predatory journals. First, you think where to submit, check whether the source where you submit is authentic, and then submit. For that, they have developed two checklists, right? So I have given the hyperlink here. Just click on that. And then I will show you their checklist. This is where it will take you to. This thinkchecksubmit.org has this list, right? Now you think about which journal that you should submit, and if you think that you are ready to submit to a journal, then you try to answer. If you, I mean, just check. Now there's a concerns about predatory publishing. You click on that, and it will also give you certain information about predatory publishers, and then try to answer these questions. Check, right? If you have a journal in mind, just have a couple of journals in mind and try to answer these, right? If you have, say, journal of say social sciences, some journal of ecology in mind, journal of say American Journal of Civil Engineering, whatever the title of the journal that you have in mind, try to answer this questionnaire, right? Have you read any article in the journal before? If you have read, you just click on that. Is it easy to discover the latest papers on the journal? Yes or no? Name of the journal. Is the journal name the same as or easily confused with that of another? Yes or no, right? Can you cross-check with information about the journal in the ISSN portal? ISSN portal is also hyperlinked to this form here. If the journal is not has obtained an ISS number, then it is not a reputed journal anyway. It's not a registered journal, right? Yes or no? Right? So you keep on answering this. Are the articles indexed and archived? Yes or no? Right? So you answer these three. Is it clear with what fees will be charged? So you have 4 questions on that. Are guidelines provided for authors and publishers on the publisher website? So whether you have all these here, right? And is a publisher or a member of a recognized industrial initiative? Do they belong to COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics? This is very important. If it is, if the journal is listed by the COPE, then you don't have to answer any of these about there, because only very good reputed journals are recognized by COPE, right? And if they are open access journals, DOAJ is the most prominent directory for open access journals. If it is listed there, you don't have to worry too much about any other questions. Or else there's OASPA, Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association. If it is listed, if the journal is listed there, then you are okay, right? For say if it is in INASP journals online platform, yeah, they are very reputed, right? So you keep on answering these questions, and ultimately, if the answers for most of these are yes, then the journal is reputed. At least if there are answers for these this last section is yes for any of these questions, then you can make sure that the journal is reputed. Then you decide to submit if you are happy about the outcome of this the questionnaire, right? Similarly, you have Similarly, you have another list. Here for book chapters also. A very similar list for book chapters. If you are planning to submit a book chapter, then you can go through this set of questionnaires, and if you are happy with the answers that you provide, then you can check and then decide to submit. Right? Those are the checklists that you have to make a decision where to submit the paper. Right. This is the committee on publication ethics that I was talking to you about, and they have ethics toolkits for a successful editorial office. Please have a look at it. First, what they do is whenever the journal submits for the membership of this scope, they first do an audit of the editorial processes. They have a long list of ethics toolkits for a successful editorial office. If the editorial office has all these ethical toolkits ready, I have given you the hyperlinks for this as well. I'm not going to details because it's out of our scope. And then they will the COPE will recognize the journal. This recognition is very important. If a journal is recognized by COPE, then I mean, you don't have to check anything else, but that you can make sure that the journal is very reputed. And also they have this any journal who is a member of a COPE, who is recognized by oath, COPE, they need to have proper procedures to overcome misconduct, authorship and contributorship, complaints and appeals, data and reproducibility, ethical oversights, how to protect intellectual property, how the journal is managed, peer review process, post discussions and corrections. All these have to be set as part of the requirements to be recognized by the COPE, right? So any journal who abides by all these are very good reputed journals, right? I will just skip this, right? So whenever you note that the journal is recognized by the COPE, then you don't have to worry too much about the standing of the journal. If now there are so many other journals who are very reputed who have not obtained the COPE recognition, but still they are also very reputed. You can go by journal metrics. There are other metrics, other yardsticks, other measures that you can make use of to see whether the journals are good enough for your publications. One is the journal metric, and the other article type metrics. When deciding where to submit your manuscript, you have to consider a broad range of these journal and article metrics to decide which journal that will help to achieve your goals and getting the best reach, recognition, the impact for your research, and ultimately your publication will be visible to the others, right? So what are these journal metrics are all about? These are the most common journal metrics that we make use of. Journal impact factor is the single most most popular one that we use, which is introduced by Clarivate or Web of Science. And there's another journal metric. The explanations are given here. I'm not going to discuss what these are. You can have a look at it. And also this, I have given a hyperlink down there. You have a long discussion about these journal metrics. Then you have five-year journal impact factor. Again, Clarivate's. Then journal citation indicator. Again, Clarivate. These are the three indicators that Clarivate uses. Higher these factors would indicate higher recognition of these journals, higher reputation of these journals, and higher acceptability of these journals by the scientific community. And the Scopus managed by Elsevier, they have other two metrics, CiteScore and SNIP. SNIP is the source normalized impact per paper. Right, so they go by these metrics. I'm not going into details of these. Please I have given hyperlinks to each of these explanations, each of these metrics. Please have a look at them later. Right now, this is where you, if you want to make sure whether the journal is listed in Web of Science journal list, which we refer to as Science Citation Index or Science Citation Index Expanded, or emerging list in the Science Citation, where what you can do is you go to the Web of Science web page and choose the master journal list or the search journals, and then just type the title of your the journal that you are thinking of. And this is I have typed science here. This is the science journal. It is Science Citation Index Expanded, and also other additional Web of Science indexes are also given here. They are indexed in biological abstracts, biosis, current chemical reactions, Agricola, current contents of life sciences, physical, chemical earth resources, science indicators, index chemicals, zoological records, etc., etc., etc. Right. So if it is Science Citation Index Expanded, it is regarded as a very good journal, because only a very reputed journals, journals of very good standing are recognized by Web of Science, and which are included in the Science Citation Index Expanded, right? Then you have other types of journal matrices. You can go to Scopus and Scopus index journals. You enter the title, and then I have typed Journal of Ecology here. Journal of Ecology, the site score is 12. The highest percentile is 99%. The number of citations, blah, blah. There are so many other indices are given here. In Scopus, the higher the site score, the higher the reputation the journal would have. And also when the highest percentiles are given here, now this is in the first percentile, right? And they have these Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Q1 are the journals which are placed in the 45th, 75th percentile. If they are 75% or above, then they are Q1 index journals, right? From 74 to 50, it's Q2, Q3, and Q4, right? So whenever they are placed in, say, this is the ranking of the journal is also given here in General Social Sciences. This particular journal called Journal of Industrial Ecology, it's in the 99th percentile. This the rank of the journal is 1 out of 264 General Social Sciences journals. So this is the best out of best journal in this particular field, right? So Journal of Applied Ecology, it has a site score of 10.7, and it is in the 95th percentile. Its rank is in the field of ecology, it's 18th out of 437 journals. Journal of Ecology, it has a site score of 9.9, 95th percentile. So topmost 5% of the journals, and then it's 20 out of 482 journals in the plant sciences. So Scopus, you can get an idea of the standing of the journal by visiting the Scopus.com website, right? And you have this again, this Scopus again manages this SCImago journal and country ranking, SJR, for journal ranks. Click on the journal ranks, and then whenever you type the journals, you have the list of journals. This particular journal, for example, Cancer Journal for clinicians, Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology. They are in the Q1. They are SGR. The journal ranking is 56. That's very high. It's in the Q1. Its H-index is 182. So they are given other matrices as well. So whenever they are in Q1, it's the highest percentile where the journal can be, and it's very, very reputed journals, right? And when the SGR is higher, if you want to compare two Q1 journals in the same field of study, then the journal SGR or the journal ranking would give you another measure to choose a journal from, right? And another way to find out the standing of a journal is to look at visit the journal page itself. This is the journal page of Journal of Ecology. So it has a journal site score of 9.9. general ranking of 2.1, and this source normalized impact factor paper is 2.1. These are very high. You can compare with these matrices with some other journal to decide which journal has a better standing. This is again the H index. When the H index is high, this is H index 194 is very high. So the higher the H index, the better the is, and it's of very high standing, right? And this the SJR, or the journal ranking, SJR Science Mego journal page. This is where you have to look for. They have so many the journal ranking here, total citations on here, and also this is the most important metrics that you would look for, whether it's in Q1, Q2, or below Q2, right? So this general ranking is SJR, and this percentile in which quartile in which it is included is what you should look for, right? If you are going for percentiles, then you have at least even say in the top 1%, but this Q1 is the first quartile. First, the 25% or about 75%, then you can make sure that the journal is of very good standing. Q1 is the highest standing out of all the 4 quartiles. Now, very recently, now not very recently, about 10 years back in 2012, there was a declaration, San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment, or usually referred to as DORA, where they found that these journal matrices published by these reputed publishers are skewed, are flawed, are sometimes biased. So they came up with different types of thoughts for. They never encouraged not to go by these journal matrices, but they said, I mean, there are things that you need to consider beyond these journal matrices. They appeal the academic communities and research communities not to go by these journal matrices as they are published by the publishers themselves. They are not independently verified or independently calculated. These journal matrices are always computed, are always determined by the publishers themselves, and these information are not publicly available, right? So you just go by these. The limitations include citation distributions within journal are highly skewed. The properties of journals impact factors are field specific. You can't compare between fields. Sometimes they are composite of multiples, highly diverse article types, and including primary research papers and reviews. And if you are confined to a very specific journal, which has a low readership, then your impact factors never would be high, even though your contribution to the scientific community is high, right? And now see here, journal impact factors can be manipulated by editorial policy. Because sometimes the editors, they want the authors to cite more number of references from their own journal, right? Or else they might ask the authors to refer to certain articles in certain issues of their own journal so that they can improve their impact factors, right? And number D is very important. Data used to calculate journal impact factors or any other journal matrices are not they are not transparent or not openly available to the public. So this DORA has a number of recommendations for improving the way in which the quality of research outputs are evaluated, right? So they always encourage academic societies, academic research communities, funding agencies to look at the impact of or the contribution of each paper objectively, case by case, not as not based on the journal that the paper is published in. Right nowadays, if I say that I have published my paper in a Q1 journal, so I am highlighting the reputation of the journal rather than the contribution that I have made to the scientific community. So the DORA always, this declaration encourages the research institutions, universities and academic societies, academic communities and research communities to look at the contribution of each publication rather than looking at the journal's performance itself, right? So these are this is the general recommendation of the DORA. Do not use journal-based metrics such as journal impact factors as a surrogate measure of the quality of individual research articles to assess an individual scientist's contribution on hiring, promotion, or funding. So this is the recommendation of the DORA, and this has to be adopted by research communities, research circles to measure the output of individual contributions to the broad scientific community, right? And lately, there are emerging trends where the individual articles are assessed rather than journals, the contribution of a journal as a whole. This is one example that I can give you. This is this smart citations. This article metric is called smart citations or CITE. It is in short, it's written as CITE here. What they do is, now this is the paper that is being cited. This is the paper, the cited paper. An author can extract information from this particular paper, and it can mention something from the paper, right? And also, the same author can extract certain information from the paper, and he can support the arguments from his paper, his paper. You borrow information or the knowledge from the paper that has already been published, and you support you extract information to support your arguments. So there are three things: mentioning, supporting, and contrasting. Contrasting is that you get the ideas, get scientific knowledge from the paper that you have read, and you try to provide a review. You try to provide contrasting information, right? That is mostly in the discussion part, that you use the information contained in the paper for contrasting certain claims, right? So whatever the information that you gather, what you borrow, extract from the previous published paper are at three levels, therefore. One is at mentioning. Mentioning is just you mentioned that these authors have done this. Supporting, usually in the methods part, right? Methods part, you have adopted this method because these people have also adopted that. Data analysis method, for example, or experimentation methods, or field-based data collection methods. So you support your claims, your methodology based on the previously concluded research. Contrasting, in the discussion part, you connect your results with others, and you compare with others' results, and then you interpret the results. Right. So these three are at different levels. And smart citations, they don't just give the number of citations of that particular article. If I have published an article, and say if you go to Google Scholar, it will say that there are 37 citations for my particular article. 37 citations does not mean anything to me unless otherwise I know where these the authors have cited my article. If they mention the article, it's less important. If they support their work with what I have done, then they give more prominence to what I have done. If they are using the knowledge that I have produced for contrasting, for their reviews, for the comparisons and their further discussions, then they have extracted my work to a more deeper extent, right? So if they have mentioned, it's just a general citation. If they support, then it gives some added value to my publication. If they use information from my paper for contrasting, then that is the most the highest impact that I can give from my paper, right? So this smart citations, rather than highlighting the number of citations, they give a breakdown between these three. how many times my paper has been cited in the mentioning part of the paper. How many papers, how many researchers have adopted, how many researchers have used my paper to support their work. How many authors, how many papers have used in their contrasting sections to cite my paper, right? So these three breakdowns are given in these smart citations. An example is given here like this, right? So for example, say publications 400. Now this is a citation badge that would be given in some citations. Now, if my paper has been cited in 412 times, then supporting sections 27. In mentioning, they have 308 people have used that, and also contrasting, only 6 people have used the paper, right? Now, if you go to a journal list or something like this is one of the papers that I have published. Now, it has been my paper here has been say cited in 20 times in introductions, right? And in the discussion part 11 times, and in other sections 20 parts, right? They have nobody has mentioned my paper in the methods part. So I know that this is in the introduction, it's just mentioning. In the discussions, definitely this should be the third category, which is the contrasting section, right? So in here also, whenever, now this is the list of references that I have made in my paper. Now, whenever you want to refer to papers, this is a very good metrics, right? Now, this particular paper published by somebody, a survey of the ecology of submerged aquatic macrophytes in central Canada, this has been cited 51 times by the scientific community. 3 times in mentioning, 3 times in supporting, and 0 times in contrasting, right? So whenever the contrasting part is missing here, then you know that this paper, the methodology is good, but the discussion part, they have not used this paper. So the results part is not very significant, but the methodology is okay. Right? So you can say get an idea of the standing of this paper, right? In contrast, now the second paper that you have here, this paper has 317 citations, 187 times it has been used for supporting claims, right? That means it has been, this paper should have a very good methodology section and a results section, because this has been used in supporting the claims of the subsequent research papers in abundance. And it has been the information of this paper has been used three times out of the 317 instances for contrasting, right? So whenever you have these smart citations, whenever you go conduct your literature search, you can get an idea of the standing of this paper, what impact that it has made on the scientific community, right? And if this contrasting part is high, then you need to know, you need to understand that that particular paper has a very high impact on the scientific community, right? But also these total citations are also is a good metrics, but this total citations have been further expanded. I mean, there are instances where now this 3 won't tally with the 317, because if the analysis cannot be made, they just ignore those papers, right? And apart from these smart citations or cite, there's another matrix that's becoming popular, which is Allmetric. Allmetric, the website is given here. So for any paper that you have published, you can get hold of this Allmetric factor here, right? This is called the Allmetric badge. Now, this particular paper, there are no black holes. Stephen Hawking, there are no black holes, published by Zia Mirali. This is just a random publication that I got there. And it has a badge which indicates 3,743. What does this mean? This is a more traditional citation. It goes beyond the more traditional citation metrics. This measures the social visibility around scientific article. Right, wherever it has been cited in tweeters, in Facebook pages, in Wikipedia, in Google users, and so on. So this gives an indication of how it is popular in the social media rather than the traditional academic circles. Right? Whenever they are popular in social media, it's also a direct measure of how popular that is among social media, which gives a direct the direct measure to see how your article has impacted the society. Higher this badge, the number is, it would give you an indicator of how much that it has impacted the society, right? Because if the publication has not impacted the society, then they would not use this for public forums for discussion, right? And it gives you the number of blogs, the number of blogs where the information has been used, Twitters, Facebooks, Wikipedia, blah, 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 blah. The breakdown is given here. So these are very high index. Right, to compare with that, I have given one of my publications. It has only 2. This is a very weak badge here. Only one Twitter and one Facebook has mention of this paper, right? And but they have included in 133 Mendeley sites. This Mendeley is a creation of a database, and what I cite you like this is a very poor batch that I have earned. Right, so this is to give an idea of the impact that the publications has created among the society. Not only I mean, nobody would like to read these unless otherwise you have academic interest in these, right? So this all-metric badge also is also something which is a trending matrix that we have. And also we have 2 other factors called eigenfactors and influence, so article influence factors, so EF and IF, AI. And this eigenfactor gives this is all about the impact that the journal has created among the scientific community and how it has contributed to the advancement of knowledge and science. And this article influence score is a measure a yardstick to measure the impact of a particular article can make on the scientific community and the scientific outcomes as a whole, right? I'm not going to define these eigenfactors and article influences. Nature has the highest eigenfactor and article influences, because there is the journal which creates the most I mean the highest impact on the society. And this EFN is the eigenfactor normalized among all the journals. So this is the relative factor that you can make use of. So if you want more information, I have given the website here. And so this is 2 things that I have given you. And bottom line are here some other list of journals. Why I have given 2 of these, I don't know. Right. So you can have now when a journal has a very high eigenfactor, then it has a very high impact on the society. If you publish your papers on such journals, then it will take. I mean, your articles will have a very high impact on the society, because it will be noted. It will be read by a very wide audience rather than a very restricted audience, right? And whenever you have your article influence also high, then both the journal has a high standing and the article published are also very meaningful, which will create lots of huge impact on the society, right? So I have discussed things in detail about how to find a proper journal for your publication. If you need you have to read the journal's aims and scopes to make sure that the journal matches with the scope of your article. Check whether you can submit an article. Some journals are invitation only. If you want to submit an article to certain journals, they won't accept unless otherwise you channel it through a member of the editorial committee, right? And you have more details if you need this how to measure the research impact or these authors tools of measuring the journal impact. You have so many resources online. I have given you 2 links here. So you have to think of indexing and abstracting, impact, speed of the publications, and also the audience that it reaches. I'll go very quickly. Please have a look at these slides later on, right? So you have to see which indexes or indices that they have been included, right? So whenever you go to this is Scientific Data as a journal, it gives you the list of indexes that they are included. This Scientific Data is an online journal. It is included in PubMed, Scopus, Medline, Global Scholar, Clarivate, Web of Science, blah blah, open access journals, DOAJ. So you are happy that it's in DOAJ and Web of Science. Then the impact factors, 2 impact factors, 5 impact factors, immediacy index, eigenfactors, the article influences. Higher these factors are, you are happy to submit the journals to such journals. Please compare these impact factors with other journals also to pick the most applicable one. And these are some of the indexes that you can go for. And DOAJ is the most prominent if you are going by open access journals. Web of Science and Scopus and SGR, Clarivate Analysis and Web of Science are the same. Scopus are one of the things that you can think of. All these are hyperlinked. If you want to visit any of these, you can visit these indexes, right? So always go for index journals, index conferences if you want to earn credit for what you are publishing. Again, when you go to a journal page, you can have all these journal matrices and the publication times and all the details that you need, you can find. These are 2 things that you want to look at: the impact factor and the publication time. And also the indexing and abstracting of that particular journal. This is a journal called Journal of Hydrology. It's in these indexes, so you can check whether this is acceptable to you. And then finding the impacts of journals, you can again go to this Elsevier web page for their own impact factors, or you can go to each of the journal pages, and then you can have 2-year impact factors, 5 impact factors, immediacy index, eigenfactors, article influence scores, everything reported in these websites, right? So these higher these impact factors are, it's better the journal is. Immediacy index, it gives how fast the review process and the publication process would be. Eigenscore and the article influence, higher these, the better it is, right? The time taken to publish a paper, you also can see the submission to first editorial decision, whether it's rejected or not, before going into any yeah, ISL journal is indexed. ISL journal is indexed as an emerging this emerging category of the Web of Science. Right. And then submission to a first post-review decision, and then submission to accept. So you can see even very reputed journals have this 226 days. Nature Cancer has 131 days. Nature Cell Biology has 284 days. Don't ever expect this turnover time to be short for reputed journals, right? It depends on the submission and the editorial process. Now, whenever you are in doubt, whenever you cannot decide on which journal you can submit the paper to, these publishers have their own services to guide you to choose a proper journal. Now, this is an example from Elsevier. Elsevier has, you visit the Elsevier website. Now, this is the link to this journal finder. This journal finder, Elsevier, this is a service provided by this Elsevier. They will guide you to choose the journal, because Elsevier itself, they themselves have hundreds of titles, journals published. Right? If you are in doubt which journal that you need to publish, what you can do is you can make use of this service. You enter the title here, you enter your abstract here, enter the keywords, and find the field of research, and then you you click on find the research, And this is one of the examples that I can give you. I have entered a title, abstract, keywords, and I found the articles, sorry, the field. And this is the suggestion that they give, depending, say they, depending on, based on the title that I have submitted, the keywords in the abstract that I have submitted, and the keywords, they suggest a certain journals for my submission, right? So it gives this comparison, side factors, impact factors, acceptance rates, time to first decision, time to publication. So these are the things that I would like to submit. My top keywords that they have identified is water treatment. So but they say that the text match score is very low. It's about 40%. So say they won't. Their suggestions, their recommendations are very weak. But anyway, they have provided some guidance to me. Another example is Willy is another reputed example publisher. They also have a similar service to help authors to choose the journal. For them, you have to wait for some time. They once you submit the title and the abstract, they refer that as to some subject area experts, and they provide you with their suggestions, right? So this is a paid service. This, like, I think they charge about $20. So if you are ready to pay that, they will suggest. They will suggest some revisions also, and then they will suggest the most pertinent, most relevant journal for you to submit. When you make the decision, please make sure that you answer these. Do I want to publish my work in a journal of a learned society? Do I want to publish my work in open access? Do I want to publish my work rapidly? Are you ready to share your data? And things like that, right? Publishing in an open learned society is always encouraged. Because the learned societies are always they have their very well developed editorial procedures. Review processes are all acceptable, and also the journals are very reputed, right? So if you ever have any doubt, please turn to academic societies to see whether they have journals for publications. One is say journal of say JSC journals, journal of American Society of Civil Engineers, for example. They are very reputed. Then you have to always now think. Now there's a plan S, which is supported by Coalition S, which was launched in September 2018. Whenever you have public funding, this is mostly applicable to European research communities. They have to say published open access journals, right? Because open access journals, it will have access to anybody, right? If they are publicly funded, then yes, this Coalition S initiative is to make sure that once the public funded researchers are accessed by anybody anywhere in the world, right? So open access journals and platforms are all now guided by the principles of Plan S, making full and immediate open access a reality, supported by organization called the Coalition S. The web link is given here. Please have a look at this Coalition S. And they promote these open access publishing. Open access publishing, we have three governing bodies: DOAJ, and also this OASPA, Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association. They're independent, but they collaborate with each other, and also this WAME, World Association of Medical Editors. They act together with COPE, right? COPE is a Committee on Publication Ethics. DOAJ, OASPA, and WAME, they have formed a coalition, and they have published the principles of transparency and best practice in scholarly publishing, right? They have given a very good guidance for authors, and also for not only for authors, but also these editors, publishers, everybody to abide by if they practice in open access publications. I'm looking for where is this. Right, I have given the hyperlink for this particular document. This is a very well prepared document. It gives this website of this coalition, names of journals, the peer review process, ownership and management, publication ethics. Everything has to be provided in the journal page so that they abide by all these best practices. Please have a look at this particular document, which I will not go into details. Because of the limitations of the time that we have. So please have a look at this, the coalition of these four very prominent bodies in promoting open access publishing. Everything about open access publishing is given here. And there's a very important declaration, that is a Berlin Declaration on Open Access. There is also very important declaration here, Berlin Declaration. And in Europe, this is I think the norm rather than the trend. So they accept everything in there. And also you have to, I think you have had the chance to listen to another resource person on Creative Commons licenses. Professor Banduni, did they have the chance to go through these CC?
Means like in future or that?
No. In the past, did Professor Kamal, did he touch upon this Creative Commons license?
No one has done it.
I think somebody has to go through this in detail. Because it's important. Now, I just give you just an idea of what these Creative Commons licenses are. Whenever you transfer your copyrights to the publisher, you have to make sure that your interests and your rights are safeguarded. At the same time, the publisher also abides by certain ethical standards. Right now, in that case, these Creative Commons have created. This is also part of this coalition S, this organization, and they have these 6 types of different licenses. Whether the copying and publishing is possible, attribution is required, commercial use is possible or not, modifying and adapting is possible or not, and change licensing policies, whether it's possible or not, right? So these are CC BY, CC BY SA, CC BY ND. There are so many licenses that you can opt for, but certain journals have certain policies for granting copyrights or sharing copyrights between the authors and the publishers. Right, and CC-BY I think is the most liberal, and this CC-BY and CND is the most restrictive in promoting. Right, and certain journals and certain publishers they promote certain categories of CC Commons. This our NSF journal, they promote CC, BY, ND. 4 license, that is attribution and node derivatives are being promoted. CC, BY, ND, CC, BY, ND. That is it, right? So modification and adaptation of the article is not possible, but commercial use is possible. Copying and publishing is possible, and changing of the license at a later stage is possible, right? So this is a bit liberal than very restrictive, right? But whenever you submit articles to Elsevier, they have their own user licenses. Or else you can opt for 2 licenses, CC-BY 4 or CC-BY NC. This 4 is the status of revision. This number doesn't mean anything, but CC-BY, or you can go by CC-BY NC, right? So there are different types of these licenses which you have to very carefully understand. I think, Professor Vandana, please think of giving them a separate introduction to these Creative Commons. Right? Whenever you submit
Sure.
papers to open journals, please make sure that you understand the transfer of copyrights, Creative Commons licenses. Right? Sometimes you don't have any option. In that case, you can avoid such journals if you don't agree with their licensing policies, or if they have there are options like in the Elsevier, you can choose the best licensing policy which suits your interest best. Right, and so choosing a CC license, whether you need to answer these questions. Does my research fund require me to publish my article in open access with the preferred licenses? If the research fund needs a particular license, then you don't have any option. If your university has a policy, open access policy, then you need to go by that, right? If you are free to decide, you have to choose a policy. If you don't have any idea, journals, the suggestion that can be given is that choose the CC-BY, the most liberal policy, whereby your paper will be disseminated without any restriction. And now this is I think I'll take about 15 minutes more. Recent trends now very recently there's a trend where to reduce the turnover time, the time taken for initial submission to the publications. They have cut down this time by this concept of open review and post review. Right, this post review is you first now what the traditional practice is that you have pre-review. You submit the paper and the editors will review, and if the review is done to the satisfaction of the editor, then they will publish the paper, and you can't edit the paper thereafter. Right, you can comment on the paper, there can be discussion forums, but there's no chance that you can change the paper later on, unless otherwise you provide an addendum or correction later on as a publication. But this concept of post-publication peer review, what you can do is you submit a paper to the journal, and the journal, they will screen the article first to see whether the contents are acceptable, and if the theme of the paper aligns with the scope of the journal. If so, if the content is acceptable, and if the theme aligns with the scope of the journal, they will publish it, right? And then they invite reviewers to review. Sorry, they invite the reviewers to do a post publication. Right? This is something that is new. How do they do this? And this F1000 Research is a very reputed journal where they don't have pre-reviews as such. They have post reviews. They publish the paper. These are online journals. And that's why they can keep on editing replacing the article over and over again once. But the printed publications, you can't think of changing the paper once it's published. One good thing is that now in these open journals is that this post review can be done. The author submits the paper first, right? The author submits the paper. And then the authors, the reviewers, they will screen this to a certain extent, and you will be definitely asked to submit your data to a repository, right? So once it is published, now the article submission and screening is done. If the screening is okay, then you are asked to submit, say, upload all your raw data, your method statements, your algorithms, your field-based questionnaire information, everything, raw data, into a repository, and your paper is published. And then the experts, reviewers are selected by the editorial board, and they are asked to review and provide the comments as public documents, as uploads to the journal. And article revisions can be done any number of times, right? And little by little, even the number of reviewers can also be increased by the editorial board. And this will be a never-ending process. The article will be revised so many times later on, right? This is one example. This article was selected randomly without any proper purpose. Now these authors have submitted. Now, this is the first version here. This is the first version here. This first version has been read by a reviewer, and this is version 1 is the initial version, the submitted version. Now this paper is in version 2. One reviewer has been submitted, and the first reviewer is this Bilal Khalid. He has provided reviews, and the second reviewer has read and provided reviews, and third reviewer has read and provided reviews. Then the paper is now in the third version, right? Once the reviewer's comments are given, the author has to do the corrections and submit the second version. And there's another reviewer who has not still submitted the reviews here, right? Now, any reader can read all the comments given by the first reviewer, second reviewer, third reviewer, and also the responses of the authors, right? All these are accessible by the readership, right? So the review status, the first review is completed, second review is completed, third review is completed. The final review is probably the author has either the reviewer has not submitted the fourth author here, not submitted the review, or the author has not completed the revision, right? So you have this is the abstract given here. Sorry, the details of the paper. You can see the author's detailed responses to the reviews. Author for review 1, reviewer 2, reviewer 3, and the reviewer 4. So you can any reader can read the reviewer's comments as well as the author's responses and how the author has revised the second version. And this can also go for a third review as well, depending on the revisions provided by the reviewer's comments provided here, right? So the version 2 peer reviews, 3 approved, 1 approved with 3 reservations, right? You know that the status of the review is given there. You know that when it goes to the second version, third version, you know that the article has been extensively reviewed, read, and there cannot be any shortfalls in the article. So this is how the new developments are evolving. These post-evaluation reviews, the authors have to have commitment, the reviewers have to have commitment, and the whole scientific community will benefit out of these exercises. This Open Research Europe is also adopts the same. Article submission and screening, preprint, and publication and data deposition, and then undergoing research reviews to several rounds, and then it is finally published. Right, so this is open as available for anybody to the readership, and once it's published, it's sent to indexes and repositories, and that is the final version after several rounds of post review. And plus this family of journals also adopt the same +1 plus this. And all these open access journals now they sometimes mandatory require the authors to deposit or say upload their raw data to data repositories, raw process data, software, any codes that you use, any models, algorithms, protocols, the methodology statements, everything, so that anybody can have access to this. This is how you disseminate your research. That whenever you share these, anybody who uses this data or your information have to give credit to you. Your research will be acknowledged, and your research will be more visible, and also your work will be cited more often when you share your raw data, software, codes, models, blah 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 blah, without infringing on any copyrights or any commercial interests. Right, so nowadays it's very common that journals would ask you to share your raw information, raw methodologies, observations, data, blah blah blah. Right, so this is also one way that you can expose yourself, and that you can make your research more visible. Right, this is why you should share your data. What benefits that you get credit for what you have done. you lead more citations and your visibility is more. And to the research community, they don't have to spend lots of research money when the data is already there. And to the civil society, it accelerates the advancement of science. So your contributions will be very well acknowledged, right? Where should you deposit your data, right? This is now why data should be deposited, and these data repositories. Please visit this website and you have more information on that. There are a couple of data repositories which are very popular. Repository Find, Scientific Data, and r3data.org. They are all reputed data repositories. Anybody can have access to these with membership. It's not a paid membership, but you have to register, mostly through your organization. Then these are accessible, but there are some restrictions because you have to acknowledge whenever you extract data, borrow data from these data repositories. Please have a look at these how they function. This Mendeley data is also very useful in your research. You may have now found out how Mendeley can be made use of to develop your databases, and also they have their own data repositories, right? Which is called Mendeley Data. This is also very reputed, where you can share your data with the scientific community, so that your information, your data will be widely accessed by researchers worldwide. And whenever you want to make yourself visible to others, make sure that you do this, right? Get an ORCID or OSINT identifier, right? And whenever you have ORCID identifier, most journals might need you to have one. You can connect with the rest of the world with your research outputs. And also, you can share outputs of your research among the scientific community. You can have your own publications linked to your website, and also create and keep up-to-date online profile, a web CV. And you can always have links to your abstracts, because sometimes you can't share the full papers openly. But if ever somebody requests you for a preprint, you can send them a PDF. Right, always ready to share your work, which will always positively expose yourself to the scientific community. Then make sure that you create your own Google profile. However, the small the numbers that you have published, but you have to start with these small numbers and try to build upon that. Right now, this is the Google Scholar profile of Stephen Hawking's. Citations, its index and I10 index are given there. And whenever you want to look at the profile of a researcher, naturally you go to Google Scholar and type in the name. So you make sure that you have this Google Scholar profiles developed. These are some of the other social networking communities. Try to expose yourself, try to share your published papers, your methodologies, even half done research results with others, so that you give more visibility to what you do. Right, you can have a very well developed say list of publications and share that in LinkedIn. And ResearchGate is another good forum. Academia, even science blogs, research blogging, Kudos, even Mendeley, you can share your published data, so that you give more visibility to what you do. And these Pablo's Unpaywall, Impact Story, Get the Research, Paper Bus, these are all discussion forums that you can engage in, and you can share your data, share your thoughts, and you can meet equal-minded people. And if you actively participate in these forums, yes, you can make yourself more visible. And whenever you write papers, make sure that your abstract is well written, because abstract essentially the researcher's elevator pitch to the world. If you have a good abstract, that is the best visibility that you can make yourself to give, and also have a very good graphical abstract. And then this top factor. So the top fact, I just skipped this. This is a very the future trend. This top fact is another organization where they have their own 10 elements to measure the impact of journals, and they give an indicator, a total score of out of 30. You can have a look at this website. Now, this particular journal, American Economic Review, has a total top factor of 9. Meta Psychology has a top factor of 27. 27 is a very high score out of 30, which gives a very, very good reputation for this this journal. Other than going away from Geometrics, this top fact is also currently used, right? And finally, please have a look at these emerging websites where they give very good advice for young researchers to propagate their research and research opportunities and how to engage in productive research. Force 11, Spark, that is sharing knowledge, human right, OpenCon, and also Center for Open Science, COS. So these are some of the things you can have Google search for these and get an idea of the latest trends of conducting research, propagating research, and making very productive networks among the research communities. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I conclude my presentation. Sorry, I've taken 2 hours and 45 minutes altogether. So it's over to you. If you have anything to discuss, please share your thoughts so we can have discussion. I will share the presentation file together with all the hyperlink documents. This presentation has a large number of hyperlinks also to the internet. You can have a look at these links also when you have time. This is a long presentation, I know. A lot of information is in there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and very informative and very interesting presentation. Even most of the things that what you have mentioned there is very new to me. And so I think that junior researchers, of course, they may not heard most of those. And thank you very much, Professor Manasinghe, for you. Always you encourage us, and also you give a lot of information. And thank you so much. And now the time for the audience or the participants to raise your questions, please.
Yeah, I think President Banduni, these presentations files are, I mean, you share them with the audience, right?
Right, sure. Okay, thank you very much. That I'll share with the audience who were here today, but not for all the registered participants, because
those who are
we
registered.
always encourage them. We always encourage them to come and listen, because it's very because interactive sessions are the most important and most interesting. And yeah, now the questions, if you have, you can raise hands, or you can open your mics and you can ask. I know it's long, but I don't feel that it's a really lengthy one, because always he was giving one by one his slides, which was really interesting and very informative, and new things we learn. And so, dear participants, now you can raise your questions. Seems there's no question, because everything you have mentioned to them. And so we are planning to meet him once again with so that you have promised us to your language and okay. Yeah, so you can give a brief introduction about it also.
I need a little time to do that. I will about style, yeah, some things about style of writing, yes.
Yes. Then once again, we are waiting to meeting you with this style of writing, because you mentioned about where to put the commas and full stops and what kind of wordings we have to use, what type of wordings we have to avoid, and all those things we're doing the discussion regarding this particular certificate course. And then if you have no questions, then shall we wind up the sessions today? So thank you so much once again. And actually, I don't have words, because it's everything you put, and you put a lot of effort to make this presentation. And I know that you have spent a lot of time when I was talking to you, you mentioned me. And so on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of the IESL, and also this Publications and Library and Publications Committee that I encourage that somebody's asking how did you find that? Yeah, attendance of the participants. Of course, that we have the record because we know from the recording that you're getting the participation, and with that we can give it. And somebody says
Yes,
hand in there. Yes, you can unmute and you can come out. Pradeep, you can ask your question.
Hi, thank you, Professor Bandini, and thank you, Professor Jagat, for this informative presentation. I just have one question. Sir, I'm actually in the process of writing a review paper regarding, in my field, actually, it's structural engineering. So I was actually, I think I'm audible, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So actually, I'm aiming to direct the review paper for a conference presentation conference in Sri Lankan State Sector University. So would it be is it advisable to present a review paper in a conference, or should I consider submitting to a journal or journal publication?
Yeah, Pradeep. You can consider submitting it to conference. That's okay. But whenever you participate in a conference, which I think most of the postgraduate students, they don't realize this. You have to make use of the conference participation to expose yourself and to invite constructive criticisms and the research ideas and the opinions of the others. So rather than presenting the entire review paper, if you can expose to the conference audience the need for conducting review, I think that should be the forum that you can discuss your ideas. Because the conference audience might not be looking for all the reviews that you do, but for them the need for conducting the review and the way that you're conducting the review would be more interesting, and then you can engage with them about the need and the methodologies later on. So for the conference paper, I encourage you to submit it, highlighting the background for the review, and then highlighting the need for conducting the research. If you can highlight, because for conference papers, you don't have to have a conclusion as such, right? Because conferences have been traditionally organized to provide a platform for a discussion among equal-minded people. But nowadays we consider conferences as I never have considered conferences are publication platforms. They are meeting platforms essentially. But later on, the submissions of the publications can be taken up by the editorial board to be elevated as say including in proceedings or included in say index journals, for example. But that's a secondary outcome of the conference. But primarily, the conference has to set a platform for the researchers to come together for a discussion, a productive discussion. So I encourage you to consider submission of the paper to this particular conference that you are in mind, so that you discuss the background for the review, and also the why you consider that there's a need to conduct such a review, and then detail out the detailed methodology that you expect to adopt. That I think would give you a very good feedback from the scientific community, and you can build upon that to strengthen your journal paper subsequently.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Understood.
Did I answer your question, Pradeep?
Yes. I think you have answered the questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that he has given the exact answer, because of course that generally conferences, we are not encouraged to use papers for the conferences. So, right. Thank you very much with that one again, that once again, that I'm thanking for all of you, especially our resource person, for Jagat Manadunga. And so we will meet him once in the coming, after a few weeks time, he will tell us about the writing styles, that how we are going to gather our research publications or research communications, and how to put those things into a paper. And so same time that I'm getting this opportunity to mention you that tomorrow, next Saturday, on 26th of Saturday, we are having our session on afternoon that Professor Dilanti Amritunga from UK, she will join with us about the paper writing. And there are a few things that she will mention. And so please remember, tomorrow, next Saturday, we will have our session at 2 o'clock. So please prepare for that. And like that, there are several sessions we have to go on. And with that, our certificate program will be, we are planning to finish it off. And thank you very much once again, Professor Maratunga, for your very commendable and very interesting and very informative presentation. And dear participants, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Bandhani, for providing me with the opportunity, and thank you very much for all the participants for your valuable time spent with me. Hope to meet you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.